Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 64 of Cameron's Social Podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Strickland. Today I have with me Mary Hildebrand Nagler. How are you?
I'm fine. Happy to be here.
Nice. Now, for any of you guys who don't know, Mary is a puppet builder for Being John Malkovich, Kid Fitness, and Hard Disk, which is a short film.
I've also made puppets for a number of different companies on the east and west coast of the country.
Nice. So, should we begin our first question?
Sure.
How did you get interested in puppetry?
Ah, I was in college. Well, I made my first puppet when I was 10 years old in Girl Scouts. It was made paper mache over a big light bulb instead of a balloon. And then we made it really thick and tapped it so that the glass would fall out so we could put our finger in there. I think I made a cat. I'm not sure, but I think it was a cat. And then when I got to college, I was in the acting program because I wanted to be an actor. And I didn't get very many parts because I also knew how to sew on a sewing machine. So they needed me in the costume department a lot. And so I got a little frustrated, and the school was having a Renaissance fair and they wanted a Punch and Judy show. And I thought, well, I made a puppet when I was 10, can't be that hard. So I went to the library and got the script for Punch and Judy, and I made all the characters paper mache over balloons. And my dad built me a booth to put them in, a little stage. And I got my boyfriend to help me, and we did Punch and Judy. And then people would come up after the show and say, do you do birthday parties? Do you do store promotions? Do you do company picnics? And I said, well, yes, of course. And so that's how I got started. I liked puppetry because I got to be the actors. I got to do all the different voices and things. I got to make all the puppets, dress all the puppets, make the scenery, and I could travel around and do a lot of theatrical work all by myself. And at the end of the day, I didn't have to feed them or pay them. I could just put them in the suitcase and had a lot of fun doing it.
Nice. So, what was your first puppetry gig?
My first puppetry gig was that one, the one at the Renaissance Fair where I did Punch and Judy. After that, I thought Punch and Judy is kind of harsh, he just kills everybody in the story. So I thought I should do something more kid friendly. So I made a show of Red Riding Hood in which Red Riding Hood and Grandma don't get eaten alive and the wolf doesn't get thrown in the well. It's all about saying please and thank you. And the wolf learns to say please and not just grab the basket with the cookies. And then I did a couple of other shows for kids. I did Harlequin and the Gift of Many Colors, which is about a little boy that wants to go to a carnival, but he doesn't have a costume that year because he's outgrown his costume. And his mom doesn't have money to make him a new costume. So his friends all cut a piece of fabric off of their own costumes and give him the pieces. And his mom sews them all over his pajamas, and he goes to the carnival bright as a butterfly. And he is the happiest of them all because he's clothed in the love of his friends, which is a very nice story. And then I also did The Reluctant Dragon. So I had three different shows that I would do for different age groups. And I traveled around with all three of them together at the same time. And if they were doing Red Riding Hood, I'd pull those puppets out. And if I was doing the other shows, I'd pull those puppets out. And I put my kids through private school performing puppets like that.
Nice. So, going on to IMDb, you got to work on Being John Malkovich.
Yes, yes. I worked for Images in Motion in Sonoma, California. And they mostly worked in foam-based puppets, but we got a job making puppets marionettes for that movie. And so we only had 3 weeks to make 9 puppets, so it was quite crazy. We were working all around the clock, and we sculpted the parts and then molded and cast them in plastic so we could make a whole bunch really fast. And the main person, Camila Portuguese, um, the late great Camila Portuguese, made the she sculpted art dolls, and she also sculpted, like celebrity dolls and things. And she sculpted all the heads of the characters because they had to look like the actors in the movie. And it was really fast and busy. And then Philip Huber was the person who operated the puppets in the film, and he changed the controllers a little bit to work better for him because does a different style. But it was a wonderful performance, and we were very proud of those puppets.
Nice. So, do you have behind the scenes footage or photos of being John Malkovich?
I do, but I don't have them handy right here. Let's see. Do I have that? I could show you something. If you give me a second, I'll see if I can pull it out. This is my portfolio, and I think I have a picture in here of the Being John Malkovich program. Let's see. Zip, zip, zip. This way. Okay, let's see. Here just got pulled down. Let's see. Da da da. Da da. It's over this way. Early thing. About the delay. Just be a second. Pull it out real quick. There's some other things that I worked for. I worked with them on. I made big dinosaurs. Oh, here it is. Okay. So we got put in a magazine called North Bay Biz. And there's a few nice pictures in here. Here we go. I can show you. If you can see, there's some of the marionettes standing there, and there's some. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, this is Camila's hands. She's working on the sculpture of the head, and there's another picture page. Here we go. Here's the actor looking at the marionette. So it's a shot from the film, and then there's the guy all made up, and those are my hands painting her face. And then this is some other pieces from the pictures from the film. On this picture, you can see the body is made out of plastic, and then we painted it gray, which is a primer, so you can add paint to it. And then they were painted to look like wood. But like I said, we had to go real fast to get them all done, but we got them all done in time. And then she took them down to Los Angeles, and they put them to work. Any other questions?
Yes. You got to work on the children's exercising show called Kid Fitness.
Yes, I helped him with Steve Oderman was the designer, and I helped him with um, furring the head of the main character, and then I made the sloth Sugar.
You built Sugar Swath?
Sugar the sloth. Yes, I made her. So I had to make the big sloth fingernails to hang her arms from and make her a real furry body. And didn't actually work on the shoot or any of the episodes. I just made the puppet and sent it to Stephen.
So, could you show me the behind the scenes footage or photos of Kid Fitness?
I don't think I have any in my portfolio right now. I worked on, I can show you pictures of other things that I've done if you're interested. This is this was a fun project. I had to make for a group, there was a rock group that plays music for kids, and it was called Sippy Cups. Sippy Cups was the name of the group, and they wanted me to make this 10-foot tall tree. And they're during their rock show, they're playing their instruments, and somebody climbs inside there and it has a backpack, and his arms can go up inside these branches. It had actually some sticks to hold on to because he wasn't quite that tall, but he looks out through this little blue place here. It's like a little tiny kind of bunny rabbit face thing. And he can wave his arms around in there. And then this tree, which is made like an accordion, so it can bounce up and down. And they would have this big giant tree dancing around on stage with them. So that was a challenging project because most buildings are only 8 feet tall inside the rooms. And this thing was 10 feet tall when you get all the leaves, which are made out of feathers up there. And so I had lived in an apartment building that had a very big, like front room, foyer. And I would work on it up in my room and run down 3 flights of stairs and put it all together and work on it down in the lobby to get it done. And then it all folds up and goes into a pretty small box because it's mostly fabric. But that was a challenging project that I had a lot of fun doing. I also worked on a lot of different other things. But I don't have any pictures from Kid Fitness because I only sent the puppet in and then that was that. The company in California that I worked for also worked for Pixar. Pixar, when they are getting ready to do a film, they make a bunch of little clay figures of the characters that they can talk about in a board meeting. So here's some of the monsters that they were considering for Monsters Inc. And then here's me holding one of the monster maquettes. So they would send us these little sculptures that they'd made, and they were all made out of clay, but they wanted to keep them forever. So we would mold them up in silicone and cast them in plastic and paint them with the gray primer like we used on the Being John Malkovich puppets. And then they would be able to keep them forever. So if you see some of the films that they've made, the Pixar films, at the end when they're talking, at the end of the film, they talk about how they made the film and stuff. You'll see some of these in the background because they're not falling apart because they're not clay anymore. So yeah. Anything else you'd like to know?
Do you have Sugar the Sloth?
I don't have Sugar the Sloth. He belongs to the company that purchased him. Or Steve Witterman might still have him. I'm not sure. But I don't have that one anymore.
Pro Image Studios.
I don't remember that one so much. Do you know what kind of character I made for that one? Because I don't remember that name.
Sugar.
Oh, Sugar. Okay. So yeah, Sugar the Sloth is the one I made for that company. I didn't realize that was their name because I was hired by Steve Witterman and I just did it through him. I worked on some things at the Puppet Heap. I made 2 beakers when I was there that they do the Muppets. There's a picture from that. Here I am holding 2 of the beakers that I made. They have sometimes they have like more than one character, so that if something gets broken on it, or if they need to change costumes, or for whatever reason. Beaker's also made out of cardboard tubes, so can get broken. By the time I had finished these two guys, the one that they were using got broken, and so they were able to put one of my guys back right in. So I made two beakers, and I got to make a Swedish chef while I was there. So that was a lot of fun. That was one of my favorite jobs, was working for them, because they have a lot of old Muppet people there that, have been there all along with Jim Henson, and have a lot of great stories to tell. So I really enjoyed doing that. Next
Yep.
question.
You have a picture of you with Kermit.
I do have a picture of Kermit. I don't have a picture of me with Kermit, but I do have a picture of Kermit that we worked on while I was there. Let me see if I can get him out of my portfolio here. The movie Pirates of the Caribbean, they were doing a spoof on Pirates of the Caribbean, so they dressed Kermit like Jack the pirate. I made his boots. That was my part. I made his boots. But he's all dressed up like the main character. That was a fun job. There's a lot of nice detail. Look at the detail on that. It's really fancy. Lots of nice detail. Doo-doo. We did have Kermit come in when I was working at the Puppet Heap. He would come in occasionally and get fixed, and I got to fix his little nephew. His foot came off, and I was able to fix that for them. And I got to work on Rolf the dog, and I got to work on the rats and Rizzo and a few others. And it was really fun to work there because I love the Muppets. I used to run home from high school when I was 16, I think was when they came out, and I would run home to watch Sesame Street just so I could see the puppets. So I'm a big Muppet fan. Are you a big Muppet fan too, Cameron?
Yes.
I thought so.
So you worked on a short film called Hard Disk.
Hard disk? I don't remember that one. What was the puppet like? Was there a puppet in that one? Did you see on the internet that I worked on that film? Because I don't remember that one. Hard disk. Might have been something I did through a company. Oh, here's something I'm proud of. Let me show you this. There was a company that wanted to change the rules about chickens being kept in cages. Because here in America, they have like factory farming. And for a long time, the chickens were kept in cages that were just big enough for a chicken to be in there. And they had wire floors, and they were very uncomfortable. And so this group, who was kind of an animal rights group, the Humane Farming Association, um, had me use a couple. This is a marionette chicken that I made for my thesis show when I graduated from the University of Connecticut. And they were doing green screen, so you can see the little green tube right there. That was so I could had a mechanism that would open and close her mouth. And so she talks about how terrible it is to be in those cages and how she wants it to change. And this is me standing on a little box, working the puppet. And they took my chickens and they multiplied them so they could make a whole picture of a whole bunch of chickens in a whole bunch of cages. And they took the film and they showed it to Congress to help pass the rotten egg bill that got the chickens out of the cages. And it's still not a great way to raise chickens, but at least they're not in cages anymore. They're in an open space. So that's something I'm kind of proud of because it did something nice for the chickens of the world. Made it a little less uncomfortable to be a chicken. And I've worked for a lot of different companies and done a lot of different things. Um, I made a big cow. Oops, come out, come out. For Bridgeport Cabaret Theater, I made a number of puppets for them. This is Milky White from one of their productions of Jack and the Beanstalk. It was kind of a funny puppet because it's, a goofy two-person puppet. And made a couple of singing giraffes for them and some fish and some rats. They gave me quite a bit of nice work, and they were a lot of fun to do. I went on to teach some classes in college. And at one of the colleges I worked at, they had me make a five-headed dragon, like from Dungeons and Dragons. These are all made out of foam. This red one is 16 feet high, so it's a very tall puppet. And they had all five heads, and they all could open and close their mouths, and their heads were like, three, almost 4 feet long. And they all had teeth, which were soft foam, so they wouldn't actually bite somebody. The young person that had to fight the dragon could actually like whack it with a sword. This is during the rehearsal. You see how many people? It took 8 people to work this puppet. It's one of the biggest puppets I ever made. And it was very fierce. It had eyes that light up. So here's my favorite part is the main head. Had horns and everything. And the teeth would pull the sword out of her hands and try and bite her. And then she kills the dragon by putting a sword up through its mouth. But the eyes lit up, so when in the show the theater's dark, and all of a sudden 5 heads light up, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's that?" They're pretty scary. They looked like real dragons, so I was pretty proud of them. And they were fun to make. And they had all 5 of them were different, so they had different shapes. And this is the ice one, and there's a fire one, and a water one, and a earth one, and so they were a lot of fun, and it was a really good production. I was very happy when I went and saw it every time they performed it, just because it was so cool to see. Um, I worked when I was at the university, Sonoma State. They had me make a whole bunch of little bird puppets. I had taught a class in puppet building, and they had all these little birds that were on stands or on mechanics, so you could see their little wings flap. And I made a timber wolf. And my second biggest puppet I ever made was this one. It's a African elephant, full-size African elephant, and they have the king rides in on top of it, and it took 6 people to make it go. But its trunk could move side to side. It could walk. Had a tail that swished. I also made some other puppets for that show. There's a giant, like a Galapagos tortoise. It's pretty big. I made it. It's called a Pyrenees chamois. It's a little antelope from Europe. All these are on the endangered species list. I made a crane and some penguins, and a koala and a baby elephant. So it was a lot of work, and I had a lot of good students helping me do it. So that was a lot of fun. Do you have any other questions for me, Cameron?
All right. Are you gonna show me some of your hand puppets?
Yeah, I could do that. Let me move this out of the way. This is a puppet that I'm using in my new show. Her name is Auntie. She's an old lady. There she is. Hello, come in, hello. This is Auntie, and she came to, let's see, the story is she meets a little girl and they become friends, and she teaches the little girl a lot of things. about nature, about life, about humanity. And she's actually a space alien who's come to Earth and studies humanity through their artwork. And and so she has a lot of art things in her house. And at the end of the story, she kind of her hair gets bigger and bigger. She has a lot of hair. It's all bound up in braids and stuff. And at, her hair gets taller and taller as the story goes on. And then at the end, she gets wrapped up in her hair like a cocoon and turns into a creature that's similar to a butterfly and flies away. But that's the show I'm working on right now. I haven't got it very far, still working on it. But I had to make like miniature versions. And some of the show is done with hand puppets, and some of the show is done with little marionettes. So here's a little marionette of her, same clothes, same face, same everything, and she has little bare feet. She has cute little bare feet. But this is a design that Bernd Ogrodnik, who teaches a online carving course, taught me. I've been taking his course for a couple years now. And carving takes a lot longer than some of the other processes, but it's very satisfying. And then I also have this character. Grab her, she's over here. Come here, honey. This is a little girl that she makes friends with. This is Amanda. And so this little Amanda puppet. Hello. Hello. So that's some of my hand puppets. And I have one more I can show you. This is Kobe the Clown. Come here, Kobe. I made him during COVID pandemic when I was stuck at home. I got made a number of puppets. So here he is in his little tennis shoes, and he's a little clown. Hello. He's a little shy. But he's going to help me when I go to work soon with all these nursery schools that I'll be teaching some puppetry to. And this guy is one of my favorite puppets. Come here, buddy. He's a flea circus ringmaster. I made him in Bear's class. He's carved out of wood, and he operates like this. I'm going to turn around here. So, like, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, your arm's stuck. What's going on with your arm? Oh, it's stuck on this thing. Okay. We get it sorted out here a little bit. Oh, marionettes, they get tangled so easily. Okay, here we go. He's not really a marionette. He's more of a less a tabletop puppet, but he can swing his hat around and wave his arms, and he can jump, and he has some really nice hip action. Do 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 do. So he's gonna be the narrator and ringmaster for a flea circus I want to make. That's one of my other projects down the road, down the way. But I love his little hat. Had a lot of fun making his little hat. Look at that hat. That's a cool little hat. Do, 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 do. Fits on his, he can almost put it on his head. Not quite. There we go. Try. Not quite. So he just sort of swings it around. So any other questions, Cameron?
You have some Muppet style puppets.
I do, but they are not with me right now. They are in storage. So I don't have any. You can go see them on my website though. My website is worldsofwonder.com, and it's spelled WHORLS, like a whirl, worldsofwonder.com.
All
Yeah,
right.
quite a bit.
So, are there any TV shows that you worked on?
TV shows. There was one called Kung Fu the Kangaroo, and I worked on that one. I made shoes for the kangaroo, and I also made his sidekick, who was a bear. So we had a kung fu bear. And let's see, TV shows. Oh yeah, well, I've done a number of videos. There was a series called Gork and Friends. Randall McGee, who's a well-known puppeteer here in the States, um, has a dragon puppet, and the dragon wanted to teach some like emotional stuff, mostly for preschool and younger kids. And I worked on that series, and then 10 years later, he came back and we did another series called Popcorn Park. And the puppets were like little, they look a little bit like Fraggle puppets. Let me see if I have a picture of that. Here's let's see. Oh, just you might be interested in this. This is some foam work that I did on a little dragon puppet. That's for a closed circuit TV program. So you can see the foam base of this little character, and here's the design, little design of the character. And then when I got him done, he looked great, working fine. Here's another puppet I made. This is for a commercial. It's a bulldog who had moving eyes and mouth. He was a lot of fun too. Let's see if I can find. Look here. Here we go. Pull this one out. Here's a behind the scenes shot. This is the late great Camila Portuguese over here. And trying to get the glare off the picture there. That's me in the middle, holding up all these little puppets from the show. And they were cute puppets. They had little round noses. They all had different personalities. There you go. And that was working with images in motion. And then later on, we did Popcorn Park. And there's a bunch of little kids that do a bunch of stuff. There's Gork the Dragon. That was Randall's puppet. Made all these little kid puppets for that show. Let's see, I was on my way to finding something. I think that was it. I've also made some Veggie Tales puppets. I don't know if you're familiar with Veggie Tales, but it's like there's a cucumber, an asparagus. We made these large body costumes that were used in a park. When I worked for the Puppet Heap, we made larger puppets of Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog, who rode in a parade. That's part of the Disney World parade. I made a lot of hand puppets like this. There's Daffy Duck and Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny. And there's Tweety the Bird, because the guy that made those characters had passed away, and they wanted to do a tribute video for him. So this is Steve Clempitt. He's the guy that made those characters that we all love from Cartoon Land. And so they made a puppet of him, and then a puppet of all these of his characters, and we did a little tribute video to remember him by. Anything else?
What was it like working on images in motion?
Oh, it was myself for the most part. With my, we sometimes had up to 8 people working for us, and most of the time it was just me, Camila, and Lee Armstrong, and Kieran Robinson. They were the people that worked there the most, and we did a lot of different kinds of puppetry. Here's an interesting picture you might enjoy. We made a dinosaur, the T-Rex. It was going to be used in a commercial for Tower Records. Let me see if I can get him out of here. Oh, come out. There you go. Here's a picture of all the foam work. This is built on a guy's body, so it fit him perfectly. And the tail was articulated so that when he moved, the tail would swish. And this is what it looked like all finished, carrying his Tower Records bag. And in the commercial, they only shot his feet and the bag. They didn't shoot all this other work that went on for hours and hours and hours. So that was a little disappointing. But here's a picture of the builder and main builder guy. This is Mike Wick. He's made the puppet, and here's the guy standing in it. So you can see how big the tail is. It goes back there. We did a lot of things from miniature things to big things like this. So it was a lot of fun to work there. There was different, everything, a lot of different projects instead of the same thing over and over again, which I really like. So anything more? We also did
Well, have you ever built walk around characters of Miss Piggy and Kermit?
not the walk around characters, no. They were larger than the original puppets. They were the actual, like if Kermit's head was this big, the one we made was bigger, so it could be seen while it's going through the parade route. So it's a little bigger than the actual normal puppet, but it was also, but it wasn't a full body costume. Let's see if I have my big body costumes. I've made about 6 body costumes in my day. Let's see if I found them in here. Not jumping into my hand. But I've made all kinds of puppets. Done a lot of extra curricular things like decorations for sets and things like that. Here's one we made for the Cartoon Network. Here's the foam of it. Is going to be a big rat. So this is him with his foam all made. And then this is a picture of him. It's just gotten all decorated. Let's see, it looks very ratty. Got big toenails. That's the front and this is the back. So I've done a lot of work with fur and fleece mostly. Foam, fur, and fleece. That's my specialty. I'm reputation-wise known for my detail work. Done a lot of like detail painting on things. Images in motion, made some toy product prototyping. So a company would say, we're going to make these toys and we need them to look really great. Can you paint them for us? So we would get we would make the little forms, mold and cast them up and then paint them. And I thought I had one. Ah, here it is. So this is for Leapfrog toys. Some of you may have known played with Leapfrog toys when you were a child. But we did all the master paints for their little characters. And this is Leapfrog himself. He is a little guy. So we did reliefs on the sides of the toys. And then we also made the 3-dimensional toys. And then we would send these off to China and they would paint them. They would use ours as a sample of how they're supposed to look. And they would use our paints as a master idea of how to do it the right way. I think we're getting close to time, Cameron. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
What was Kid Fitness filmed?
I'm not sure where it was filmed. I think Steve Witterman lives in the New York area, so I assume it was in New York somewhere.
All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. I had fun talking about it was fun going down memory lane and looking at some of the things I've worked on in the past.
You know, Camille Portuguese worked for Baby Einstein.
Yes, she did.
Do you watch Baby Einstein?
I've seen some of Baby Einstein's. Yeah, we made some of the puppets for that and some of the props as well. Nice people.
And what was your favorite Baby Einstein video?
Oh boy, I don't know. I've only seen a couple. It was a long time ago. So I don't remember. I just remember they did shoot some of the work that at Images of Motion, Motion. They have their own studio space and film, cameras and things, lights. And so they did some of the filming there, and I got to see part of that, but I was also off in the other room working on something else. So I didn't get to watch too close. Did you watch Baby Einstein when you were a child?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Oh, just that uh, working as a professional puppeteer has been very rewarding. Not always, I don't always make as much money as I would like to, of course, but I have had a fun time doing it. Somebody said it's great, you can make a living, and it's more like I've made a life. I've always liked, even from childhood, making things with my hands, and I've always enjoyed theater. And puppetry for me was the best way to do all the things that I like to do in a theatrical way. Be the actor, be the costumer, be the writer of the story, you know, be the filmmaker if I make it into a film. Um, I love to perform. I like working, especially for young kids. That's been my target audience. So it's been fun.
Nice. Stay tuned for more guests coming up. Until next time, peace.
Peace.